Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is Wednesday. How about that? Wednesday. This training on Friday is worthiness training. Do you feel worthy of everything you receive? Are you worthy of everything you see? Team David Meltzer. Let's pin up how people can join us for free on Friday, how they can get exercises, guides, books for free from the past training. Not only the ego training, the sales training, the pitch training, the manifestation training, all the different trainings. Good morning, Nick, Colleen, Courtney, Justin, Blaine. Welcome, Eddie. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Kate, good morning from Vegas. Good to see you. Let's see here. We got to get some questions going here. What's going on, team? I need some questions to answer. We can't waste time here. I don't come in here for my health. Do you? Yeah, I do. I come in here to be happy and help people. Danielle, welcome. All right, popping in with questions. Here we go. The system is working. What do worthiness issues usually stem from? So clarity, balance, and focus and practice. It stems from your conscious of how prepared you are. It stems from your subconscious of past dealings that may be up to 4 generations inherited of, not feeling like you are enough or that you can be enough or you're worthy of enough. And then there's the quantum side of it, just carrying an energy of guilt, resentment, offense, separateness, inferiority, or superiority, which cause us not to receive because we don't feel worthy of it. And so many times we feel bad for asking for help. We feel bad when we have and other people don't. You cannot feel bad enough to make anybody feel good. You cannot be poor enough to make anybody rich. You can receive, so you can give. The more you receive, the more you give. And that's the best. And I receive through me so I can give. I don't give so I can receive. Then I live in a lesser world. I live in a world of abundance, more than enough. And that's where you want to live as well. Let's see here. What is the most important thing you learned about public speaking? Lessons and stories. The more you have in your repository of lessons that you could teach people, and the more stories you have to teach them, the better public speaker you'll be. And being able to organize the lessons and the stories in an effectuating manner in order to give credibility and emotional attachment and give real quantifiable lessons. Quantifiable, not the purple dinosaur lessons, the ones, there's a lot of speakers out there. You guys have paid shitload of money to go to workshops and seminars and buy programs to make you feel good. You're almost like a self-help addict. I go here and I feel good for a little while and then I lose it all, right? That unbelievable feeling. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, I love you, you love me. Now you'll be happy for 3 minutes or so and then you'll have to figure this out. No, quantitative value. We're not going to be a purple dinosaur hugging everybody, pretending like we feel good. We're going to figure out and do the hard work and consistent, persistent behavior in order to effectuate the change you want in your life. That's what we're going to do. That's why I come here every day to help you and answer these questions. How do you get your morning started on a usual basis? So I have 2 routines. My normal routine is I wake up at 4 a.m., effectuated by a wind down routine starting at 9 p.m. yesterday. So I have a wind down routine starting at 9 p.m. That allows me to wake up at 4 a.m., meditate for 20 minutes, 10 minutes to get ready, minimum of an hour on my health, come back, minimum of an hour with my family, hour and a half doing research, and then effectuate being a student of my calendar, activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for, activity I planned, activity I don't have planned, as well as preparation for my sleep, and utilizing a productive, accessible, and gracious lens, or Meltzer kaleidoscope, in order to create that effectiveness, efficiency, and statistical success that I want. The adaptable routine is based on my non-negotiables, health, family, and studying, doing the research, doing the work to pay attention to and give intention to quantitatively what I want, the coincidences I want. What's your meditation process? I use theta meditation, Theta. My guru is Sangeeta Sahi, and I have studied that for 15 years. It's a elevated vibrational meditation to get to a theta state, to raise my awareness, since we can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. And that's what we do. Same question. Thank you, Young. Keep it coming. What is your view on the lottery? What is my view on the lottery? Are you doing it for fun or are you doing it to make money? So if you want to pay a couple bucks a week to have fun, there is definitely value, I think, in enjoying yourself and watching the numbers and having the suspense. But if you are doing it to make the money, and think that that's your savior, it's just like the people that ask for money, not how to get the money. People who ask for money, it doesn't matter how much money you give them. There'll always be people that feel and define themselves by people who have to ask for money. You want to define yourself as empowered, how to earn or to create your own wealth instead of, there'll never be enough if you have to define yourself to ask for money to do something. What is your center of happy life? My center of happy life. Well, that's, vibrationally, my center is peace. Wherever you find that neutrality, that peace is what we're looking for. So, for me, it's stop, drop, and roll, get to center, the highest frequency I have, closest to my potential or my truth. Truth vibrates the fastest. You can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. As you pursue the truth, things get simpler because awareness is so critical. Imagine what motivated me to get into meditation, for example, is to raise my awareness of when to buy or sell. I thought it was a powerful tool for the pragmatic world. How do you deal with sadness? I'd stay in sadness as short as amount of time as possible, just like I do ego-based emotion, fear, anxiety, frustration, anger. What I do is a four-step process of 1, identifying when I'm sad, 2, stopping. Not movement, not trying to correct it, not trying to resist it, but when I feel sad, I just stop. I breathe through my nose, out through my mouth until I get to that center, and then I am a ferocious Buddha. And I roll. We are going to join a legend right now. Sharon Lechter has been an advisor to multiple presidents and a co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and my dear friend and mentor.
I love you, David. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be with you this morning.
I'm so excited too. I just think when I have someone like you on my IG Live, I think to myself, I wonder, what Sharon Lechter would have said to me 10 years ago when I was watching her on a stage as a mentor and a hero of mine, thinking I need to surround myself with people that sit in the situation I want to be in. I want to read all her books. I want to suck all her knowledge and ask her questions. And yet 10 years ago, if I said, Sharon Lechter, someday we're going to be friends and we're going to sit on this thing on my telephone and the whole world's going to watch us talk on the telephone. It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, I would have said, David, it's going to happen because you're an action taker, right? So many people know what they're supposed to do, but they don't do it. So you did so much more than take action, because every step of the way you open it up and bring tons of people with you and inspire thousands. So I'm as a friend couldn't be prouder of who you are and what you do and the contributions that you make. And I think, maybe we've switched roles. Maybe you're my mentor now, right?
Well, we could co-mentor, and I think I've been inspired by you so much, and people that have surrounded you as well. What a great collective conscious we've created. I'm doing a training on worthiness this Friday, and you're someone who has talked about worthiness, not just in the theoretical, I call it the purple dinosaur type of theory, the Barney, the cartoon character that people like to feel good. So they'll go to a Sharon Lechter workshop and there's so much quantifiable value, but all they'll get is that, I love you, you love me, I am so happy. And then they don't take action. They don't make things happen. They don't have as John Asseroff teaches us, right? The law of Goya. They don't get off their ass. Why is it people don't feel worthy enough when you're giving them these gifts of empowerment, the tools, and you're very pragmatic like me. We don't mess around. If there's not numbers behind it, we're not going to give you that advice. If we can't mathematically somehow give you some concrete evidence, but yet people don't feel worthy of what they've paid for even. Why is that?
And well, I think it comes from fear inside. Fear either paralyzes you or motivates you. And most people have this, they're in their own little silo and they think, I'm not good enough. easy for her to say, easy for him to say. And so they've allowed fear to cripple them, to paralyze them. And that's you and I work on this with people all the time to understand that, and some of the comments that came through talked about losing, a loved one. I lost my son 7.5 years ago. It paralyzes you. But at some point, you realize that no matter what stopped you in your tracks, whether it be a financial setback, I know, we've talked about both of us had those, an illness, a death, a divorce. No matter what you've been through, you're still here, and you're still here for a reason. And whatever you've experienced going through it, the pain, the grieving, the sadness, the feeling like, why are you still here, is something that you've come through, you've survived, and you can help others going through that as well. And so everybody has their own grieving process when you lose somebody, but at the same time, you are still here. And if you can continue being that beacon of light for others, you can make a real impact and realize that there's more for all of us to do, particularly in the world we live in right now.
And I love the fact that you don't separate people. That is so interesting. You have advised presidents of the United States, multiple presidents of the United States. And I also have seen you with young entrepreneurs, not even in high school yet. I've seen you advise, people on financial literacy and energy and worthiness and quantitative direction of what we're giving. Are there common denominators between well-seasoned financial people that you advise and even the beginners? Are there certain things that you see that are just, you think to yourself, because, when I'm doing coaching, I'm with the chairman of a Fortune 10 company, and I'm thinking, this is the same advice I gave to my 17-year-old daughter. Is there any advice like that you see in your career that's very common to everybody?
Well, the number of dollars in your bank account does not provide an assessment of what's right here in your heart and in your mind. And so many times, I know some very successful billionaires who still are basically afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid they're not going to be able to get that next deal. And it's, it's what's up here we have to deal with. And whether it's that 17-year-old who still is so much fun to work with because, the world's their oyster. They can create or do anything they want as long as you get past that block. And to the seasoned 75-year-old who's starting a new business, who doesn't think it's possible, it's never too late to get out there and get going. And I think, fear cannot exist with action, right? When you take action, it gets rid of the fear. And yes, it's still lingering and it's going to come back, but just keep taking action. Fear either, as I said, paralyzes us or motivates us. And once you actually start taking those steps to create a better future, a better vision, you feel empowered. I tell people when, I counsel a lot of people on their financial situation. I go, just figure out where you are. Even if the picture is not pretty, you're going to feel better because you've taken the action to figure out where you are. And you can't create a plan if you don't know where you are and where you want to go. My dad used to say a map doesn't do you any good if you don't know where you are and where you're going. Same thing with a financial plan. And so instead of calling it a budget, which is a negative word, call it a spending plan. We all love to spend money, but take action and figure out where you are so you can keep moving forward. And these are the kinds of things that I'm doing on my Instagram. So welcome everybody to Sharon Lechter on Instagram. But I want people to be inspired to understand that you are the CEO of your own life. Nobody else is in your shoes. And you are an expert. Nobody's had your successes. Nobody's had your learning opportunities. But let's take that expertise and create the next level of becoming not an expert, but the expert, and then becoming the authority, like David, right? You're the authority when people start calling you all the time. And you have that opportunity because you have so much to give back. And, when I was a little girl, David, my dad would ask me, have you added value to someone's life today? He's been gone, but I still ask myself that every day. When I think of that phrase, I think of you. Because you're so giving and you're constantly helping other people in every aspect. You're an incredible human being, and I'm so honored. people.
Oh, your flattery is appreciated, and thank you. But it's more inspiring to me, your appreciation to keep going and doing what we do. And my heart and soul are so full. You know, you made the analogy of being the CEO of your life, and part of that, I think, you know, is that this you got to know where you are. There's so many stories about people. You know, I think of, because I come from the sports world, this woman who was swimming for a world record, and it became so foggy she didn't know where she was, and she had a boat next to her for safety, but she didn't know where she was, and she quit. She was like 200 yards, right?
Yeah.
200 yards. And I think about people's lives all the time that we're so close, and usually that's when we want to quit. I love David Goggins because he has that, you know, when you want to quit, you have literally 60% more in you. You're only 40% done. When your soul, your body, everything's telling you, oh, I don't have anything more. He physically proves that he has 60% more to give. And I think
We in my book, 3 feet from gold. That's what it's all about. Don't
exactly.
stop. 3
Don't
feet from gold.
and part of that comes from loving yourself. And I was on a coaching call this morning, and you know, someone was talking about all these other people. I said, yeah, I said my biggest detriment was I was didn't love myself. I didn't treat I said I have 1 degree of separation. I built it over 40 years of being kind to other people, and the only person I can tell you that I consistently am not kind to is myself. And the more I work on that, the more I can give to other people, because you can't give what you don't have. And the kinder you become to others, you can't find outside of you what's not inside of you. And I think quantitatively, you know, because you are such an expert in the financial field as well, and you take a lot of concepts that you've taught me emotionally and spiritually, and you know, and you've applied it to creating a financial abundance and security in your life to resolve that fear. What are some of the things, as you've gone through your own personal challenges and losses and things, when you are just too hard on yourself, and you say, gosh, I got to learn to love me?
Well, it is so true. All of us, so many of us, we put ourselves last. I do an exercise when I ask people, just, you know, who are you in 1 word descriptors, right? And no matter where I am, no matter what language is being spoken, of the room of 100 people, less than 2 of them will write their own name. And that's because we tend to define ourselves by the roles we play, which means we judge ourselves through the eyes of others instead of judging ourselves for who we are. And so I want to, then I have everybody write their name across the top of the page. So, and I did this exercise myself, and I wrote wife, mother, author. I didn't write Sharon. And so many of us don't take care of the vessel. If we don't take care of the vessel, then we can't continue playing those roles at the highest efficiency. And that's so true in today's society as it was 50 years ago. We tend to put ourselves last. And you're so right, David. If we take care of ourselves, then our message becomes stronger and we can impact more people. So for instance, my Play Big movement, being #1 in your field, living your legacy. And I know you do that. You live your legacy every single day with the hearts that you touch, and then creating maximum impact. You can't do any of those things without taking care of yourself and operating at the highest efficiency. And it's so important for people to really take a step back. Everybody watching us this morning, all right? What have you done for yourself? And how do you keep your own creativity and excitement going? I tell people, when was the last time you did something for the first time? Right? We get in this world where we get into these habits of doing the same thing every single day. And we end up becoming numb to the world around us. Let's trigger those creative juices and that curiosity and create something new in our world.
Absolutely. And one of the things you do so well is a lot of people put things in buckets, and they love to define things and put them in buckets. But you and I share this idea of there's variance within the buckets. And one of the chains of buckets that I've learned from you, it's actually in 3 Feet from Gold. And I've talked with Greg Reed and yourself just about, if it feeds you, feed it. If it bleeds you, kill it or get rid of it. But there's variances within each of the chain sides. So I've kind of translated that into from a spectrum of people who feed you to a spectrum of people that don't feed you to a spectrum of people that bleed you. What if, and I think financially, it's a huge problem with athletes, for example, Bernie Kosar, Tony Gwynn, some of the greatest names, they felt indebted to the people that somehow professed to get them there. So high school coaches, family members, they come out of the woodwork. One of my biggest detriments of losing everything was that I took no credit for my success at a young age. So when close friends were like, my mom's going to lose her house, I've always believed in you when we were in junior high school, I believed in you. And I felt like, oh my God, I wouldn't have got there without my friend. And, I was financially, irresponsible.
Guilt.
And so how do we get rid of that guilt?
Yeah, well, that guilt is also I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. Therefore, somebody else should get it. And that guilt has you doing things that you shouldn't otherwise do. Well, I think let's go to the bigger piece of that is the power of association, right? In 3 Feet from Goal, we talk about your passion, your talent, power of association, taking action, having faith in yourself. Well, if you don't have faith in yourself, that means you don't have the right people around you. Because if you have the right people around you, the people guiding you, people opening doors for you, people on your team who are strong where you are weak, that association, when you have the right people around you, your self-confidence increases. When you don't have the right people around you, that self-confidence 100% has to come from yourself. And being an entrepreneur is a lonely thing if you don't have the right people on your team. And so it's so important for people to look around and say, okay, the people who got me to where I am today, can they get me to where I want to go? And you don't do that with a negative attitude. You do that with gratitude, appreciation, and say, okay, now what's next? If I want to keep growing and making an impact, who do I need to have on my team now? And so, a couple of weeks ago, somebody I was talking to said, ask yourself, are you around people all the time that you influence? Or are you around people that influence you? And if you don't make sure you're around people who influence you, then it's hard to keep growing. Yes, you want to influence other people. You want to be giving back. You want to be the one that's giving them, ways for them to open their own doors. But when you talk about your friends, the give me, that is, that's such a negative environment. An environment is so important to know that, it's one thing to be a mentor and support them in finding a path, but not an enabler. Because once you give them that first check, guess who's coming back next month for another check, right? Yeah. And so I tell people, when you talk about power of association, sometimes it's your own family. You're moving forward, taking action, and they're pulling you back. And it's not because they don't want you to succeed. It's just that they see you're taking action and they're not. And so their reaction is pull her back. It's like the old, one crab in a box gets out, two crabs, neither gets out, because they keep pulling each other back. And that's what happens a lot of times within families. But as you become successful, they become your biggest cheerleader. And then they ask you for a loan, right, David? But again, you want to continue surrounding yourself with people who challenge you and support you, so that your self-confidence stays at the highest. Because there are days when my confidence, I've gone through the whole I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it. And sometimes it's on a daily basis. Yep. But I have the right people around me. I know that if I pick up the phone to David Meltzer, he's going to make me feel like the queen of the day, And that's the strength of this power of association. And when I start working with people, the first thing I ask them, I walk them through that personal success equation. I mean, you can go to it, personalsuccessequation.com, but it's your passion, your talent, your associations, what actions are you taking, the faith and confidence. And invariably, they need help in the power of association and self-confidence. And they really do go hand in hand.
That's beautiful. I always say there's 3 things I tell children. 1, that I'm proud of them. 2, that I love them. And then 3, that I have their back. to give them that security. Like I'm not going to give it to them, but we're going to do it together. I have your back. If you're going to fall, I'm going to catch you and teach you how to get back up, motivate you, etc. But also to my mentors and to my parents and relatives who have helped me get there. I think there's 4 things, and I'd like to share them with you without hopefully crying. But one, because I feel this way about you. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I love you and appreciate you. Thank you. That's how much you mean to me. Thank you.
Oh, you are fantastic. I love you. It's just, you know, every heart you touch elevates the other individual, always. And you are so, a lot of people talk about gratitude, David. You live it. So thank you.
Thank you.
A gift.
Well, find Sharon at Sharon Lecter. Where else and what else are you doing that we can help people go to?
Well, I would love that. Thank you. At Sharon Lecter. You can email me, info@Sharon Lecter. We are launching a group mentoring program for the first time. I'm really excited about it. Greg and I are doing something related to 3 Feet from Gold as well. So just reach out to us, info@SharonLecter.com. We'd love to have you guys join us. And certainly on Instagram, I'd love to have everybody. We're working on that too. I'm learning from David how to build my Instagram.
Well, if you follow me, follow my mentor at Sharon Lecter. She's amazing, as you can tell. I don't, feel this way about everyone, but I'm happy, healthy, love you, and appreciate you. Thank you. Let's do this again, okay?
I would love it, David. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful
day. You too. My mentor, Sharon Lecter. We learn every day. Now I thought it'd be appropriate. I'm going to bring on a younger individual that mentors me in areas of his career and hopefully takes a little advice from me every once in a while. A very special friend. I see him here. You guys, he doesn't need any help with his Instagram, but I saw Casey. Why don't you just grab me a request real quick? I got to reverse it. Trevor, if you're still here, hello. Jacqueline, welcome. Good to see you as well. She's an incredible Jacqueline Burnett. I see you there. Well, Casey, where'd you go, my buddy? I know I saw you here. There you are. The incredible Casey Adams. If you haven't seen The Rise of the Young, he is the Rise of the Young. There he is. Man. You better not make me cry like Sharon.
That was awesome. I've been watching for the last 10, 15 minutes. That was so great.
Yeah, well, she's a neighbor of yours. You got to go over and meet her and hang out with her. She has a lot of wisdom, and she's paid a lot of dummy tax as well, like me. Welcome, man. Well, just update me real fast. I see you everywhere. Someone who has been you and I started our careers kind of the same time. The difference was, I think, I was 50 and you were 15.
Exactly.
Well, tell me what you got going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me on, Dave. It's always such a pleasure to come on the live streams to catch up, to say hello. But for everyone tuning in, over the last 3 to 5 years, I've had a podcast for the last 3 years and done over 250 interviews with high-level guests. And it's actually something I wanted to bring up today because I'm interviewing the founder of Reebok at 9 p.m. talking about sports and everything that you're a part of. I think it'd be cool to ask you some questions there. But for everyone that doesn't know me, the last 3 years I've had Larry King on the show, Rick Ross, and dozens and dozens of high-level entrepreneurs, including Dave, and he's definitely been an inspiration to me when it comes to the type of guests that I can bring on the show. But it's exciting. It's something that I'm not only passionate about, but it's led me to what I'm now launching soon that I haven't told you yet, but it's something that I'd love to just give you some insight on, is a podcasting software that connects podcasters and guests, and it's called PodSwipe, and I'm super excited about it because I would say the last 6 months working on it, and it's starting to come to fruition, so I'm pumped up.
Yeah, man, that's a great idea. You should talk to Todd Armstrong. He runs a huge podcast agency and can get that thing slid out there. That's a 1.5 million podcast right now. People don't know how to get guests or be guests, and having that type of community would be an amazing tool. Leave it to you to figure that out, which is awesome. You're someone who was born with the entrepreneurial spirit, trying to provide value, but you lack fear. You have been challenged. You were injured in football. You've overcome every single thing that comes to you. Do you think that's born in everyone, or can someone be taught that desire that you must be what you can be?
Well, first off, I appreciate that. I think for me personally, like going back to my neck injury when I was 15, I was in a neck brace for 6 months. My intuition allowed me to go recreate my identity, right? And my intuition told me to pick up a book and to say yes to a video, or say yes to, if I saw an ad online, to click it and see what it was. And I think curiosity is something I was born with, and it's something I look at as a skill set of mine, that I've always been naturally curious. And that's what I love interviewing people for that reason. But to your point of being born without fear and just having that certainty with your actions, I do think it's a little bit of both, because I think you can learn anything if you put your mind to it. But for me personally, my intuition has always allowed me to put fear to the side, look at what I want to accomplish, and execute without fear, but with the intention to get to where I want to go.
That's awesome. And so, I'm a process-oriented person. Is probably one of the most spiritual, emotional people that you'll meet, but I'm also process-oriented. So for me, I love to explore intuition, for example, the ability to be connected to something and receive information that I believe already exists, the everything of everyone, the abundance that exists, the more than enough that exists. And so most people understand intuition, but they don't understand the process to utilize it. What's the process that you utilize to vet your own intuition? So you get this feeling, I should do it, I shouldn't do it. This is a good idea, this is a bad idea. I should invest, I shouldn't invest. What's the process that you utilize in order to vet and execute on your intuition?
That's a great question. So I'm a big writer. I have journals filled with just daily thoughts, to stories, to what happened during the day. And I feel as if whenever I make a big decision, I always try to write it down, but then write down the pros and cons, if any, and to just really get clear and let out what I'm thinking. Because I think sometimes, you'll think about so many different decisions and what the outcome would be based on those decisions. And for me, just writing things down and seeing it in front of me and going through a small exercise, whether that's circling something you want out of it or something that you're fearful of. But for me, that's my go-to, is just extensive journaling. And that's how I tend to get clear on decision I'm making. And going back to your point, my intuition, if I have that feeling, I try to write it down, whether that's in my notes and then converting it to the journal. But that small exercise, I always see myself doing, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about, you're so young, and I love people who have paid the dummy tax. And one of the, concerns that people have when you're younger is that you haven't experienced any lessons. And I always say it's determined upon your starting point. Most of the successful entrepreneurs that are 19, 20, and 21 started when they're 5, 6, or 7. And little do they know that people were learning lessons because they were selling, Skittles at their elementary school, or sports cards, or washing cars, or babysit. Like, there's all these stories, but you're learning those lessons. You have a depth of knowledge that is situationally is related just by being so young. It's, not just a matter of being old, it's experienced. What's one of the biggest challenges that you have faced, and what lesson did you learn?
Biggest lessons that I've faced. I think for me personally, and my roommate Kieran and I were talking about this, not only a challenge, but a decision where 2 years ago we made the decision to move out to Arizona. And there was a lot of fear in that decision. I was the first brother of 3 to move out. I had no experiential knowledge on living on my own. I've lived in Virginia my entire life. And the thought of moving out and making that decision, there was fear attached in that. And I think the lessons that I've learned over the last 2 years of living on my own and moving across the country, having no family ties to Arizona in particular, it taught me so much about myself, with how I act and what life I want to create. And it gave me so much confidence in myself just by being so far away from everything that I've ever known. And I always tell people, like, if I didn't make that decision 2 years ago, I have no idea where I would be today when it comes to my level of confidence, my level of certainty, and just everything that I'm doing from a business perspective. And I think the lesson is just don't wait, right? I remember going back and forth with my parents. I'm like, do I go to college for 4 years and then maybe move out in 4 years to the West Coast or whatever that may look like? And my decision to say, hey, I have this feeling, I need to follow it and just go for it. You can't duplicate that feeling 4 years down the road. Like, it just felt right. It felt like the right time to make the move, and I did. And I think the lesson was just go for it and follow your intuition. After, for myself, when I write it down and get very clear on what I want, and it turned out to be a great decision, and I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've learned over the last 2 years.
That's awesome. Well, I see my niece / cousin in there, who's very close to me, and Jacqueline. She's one of your best friends, and I always say, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And you absolutely, one of the things that I was attracted to you about was I was trying to figure out how this 17, 18-year-old kid had attracted the biggest and best entrepreneurs in the world. You had captured I didn't really care about the TikTok crowd. I care about them in the respect I want them to be empowered and happy, but I mean, to follow me. I'm not going to dance and sing for people. But what really, caught my eye was I met very few 17 and 18-year-olds that had garnered the respect and knowledge enough to, work with some of the biggest and best entrepreneurs in the world in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, which was super impressive. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Give me one thing that you love about my niece / cousin Jacqueline, and why?
Totally. I mean, well, first
Nobody's
off,
ever asked you that
Jacqueline.
question, huh, Casey?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked you
Awesome.
that in an interview. I got 3 for 3.
This is great. Well, I think first off, so I've known Jacqueline for 3 years. The first event I ever went to in San Diego, that's where we initially met. And like a year and a half ago, it was funny because we got coffee, and then I was going to do a podcast interview, and she didn't have much going on that day. And I was like, hey, just come to the podcast so if you're open to it. And she came up, watched the podcast, and she just has so much confidence in her actions. And I always told her this. I said, how are you so happy 24/7, 365? And, hinting at her book, Happiness Habitat, like, she just has such a formula for how she stays grateful. And she always references you with someone as her mentor and inspiration that has given her this mindset. But she's just the happiest person I know, the most grateful person. And she lives that with her actions, right? Like, she's a true giver like you are, Dave. And I think, as she would say, she gets a lot of that from you, from the material you put out, from working with you. And it has definitely instilled into me just from her becoming literally one of my best friends this past year and a half. So it's a blessing. She's great. Shout out to Jacqueline.
Yeah, shout out to Jacqueline. Well, both of you gave me confidence, because it was one thing to be able to empower CEOs and chairmen of company, people that sit in the same situation that I am. But when I was able to communicate and empower people like you, Casey, and Jacqueline, that would empower other people, it's one thing to teach you, but to watch you to find your own frequency and be able to take what you've learned from people like Sharon Lecter and myself and all these other people that have been around you and assimilate it into your own frequency, just the same way I have, right? There's nothing original that comes through David Meltzer. It's all assimilated from my mentors like Sharon and Greg and Gary and all the guys that we love. It's just assimilated into my frequency. And for me, that's what I adore about Jacqueline, for being so young like you. Very few people have the confidence, like you said, to find their own frequency. People will laugh at you, scoff at you, and make fun of you. And all 3 of us have had people do that. And but my favorite is eventually they'll applaud you. And I just wanted to have you on. And I'm very interested in your software. So anything I can do to invest, raise money, help amplify, whatever, you better be reaching out to me, buddy. I want to be a part of that. I'm in there. And then more importantly, wanted to thank you both, Jacqueline and you, Case. Keep on strengthening your signal, find your spectrum with that frequency, and clear your message, because you're going to do some serious good in the world with everything you're doing. Keep up the great work. And if you need anything, just ask. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you, by the way?
Yeah, so the best place is Instagram. It's just at Casey. Shoot me a DM, and that's where I spend a lot of my time reaching out to people, saying hello, and that's definitely where I spend time. I did have one question for you
Oh,
before I
sweet.
go, Dave.
Bring it on, man.
In 20 minutes, I'm interviewing the founder of Reebok. He's 85 years old. He started the company in it was like 1958, born in 1935, right? Like he has those lessons, right?
Yeah.
So what question would you ask him and why?
Good. So first, Lenny Armato, you got to ask about Lenny. Lenny was Shaq's agent, but he was the CEO for him. He was the CEO at Reebok. Lenny, he's one of my mentors as well. So what I would ask him is about segmentation, because one of the areas that your followers really should learn from someone like this, who I know that gentleman, by the way, is that there are no overnight successes. And so if he could explain to you how acceleration and exponential growth, compound interest, works within the context of building a business. How many times do these great entrepreneurs that have built billion-dollar businesses, it doesn't happen overnight. It's 2 people, then 4, then 8, then the way that your audience and my audience has been built. And I think to have him answer that journey of segmentation, explain to me how your business utilized compound interest, acceleration, aggregation, exponential growth, where most people don't realize that you're 25% of the way there. If you have a 20-year
Yeah.
plan, it's not till 18 years, right? And how many times did you want to quit? And why did you want to quit? And why did you continue to consistently, persistently pursue that potential? Because I think someone that is that age, that has built such an extraordinary business, will talk you through, well, it took me 10 years to do this. It took me another 10 years till we did this. And if he can talk through the acceleration and see and give people the confidence that 99% of the people quit before they're 25% of the way there, I think he is the person to explain why you shouldn't quit.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I will let you know how it goes, and I
I'm going to
appreciate you
watch,
having
so
me
yeah,
on
let
today.
me know, man. The rise of the young, Casey Adams, at Casey, the king of knowing his own domain, at Casey. I can't believe you have that. I barely got at David Meltzer. Oh my gosh, at Casey. That just shows you how
Thank
powerful
you.
this kid is. You better give my cousin a hug and a
I
kiss.
appreciate it.
My niece cousin, I call her. I adore her and you. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you so much. Come on again, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dave. Have a good one.
Take care, brother.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
No matter what age we are, 2 super mentors. Check them both out. Sharon Lecter, at Sharon Lecter, and at Casey Adams. The rise of the young. He's already risen. So he'll continue to empower others. And I'm really interested in that CEO of Reebok's interview to see why and how he didn't quit. I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to get it in. I love you, Jacqueline. Thank you for helping me empower so many people. Here we go. Last question. How important is culture within a company? To me, it's the most important thing. You have to be an intelligent follower to be a leader. In order to be an intelligent follower, you must know your own values and learn the values of the collective consciousness in order to effectuate what you want. And for me, that culture is based on, number 1, gratitude. I want everyone around me finding light, love, and lessons in all the activities. Forgiveness. I want everybody making a ton of mistakes and forgiving themselves, and of course forgiving others for making their mistakes. And accountability. I want everyone having control of themselves, learning to be worthy of everything that they receive, and loving themselves, to ask themselves 2 questions within the context of our culture. What did I do to attract this to myself, and what am I supposed to learn from it, and then share it with others? If you can be grateful, if you can be forgiving, if you can be accountable, you will be inspired, not motivated. Motivation you can get from fear and other things, from other people yelling at you and whatever you want to get up, get back up, get started, get restarted. I'm talking about inspiration. I'm talking about the acknowledgement, the rememberment, the recollection that you are connected to everything and everyone, that you are connected to an abundant source of light, love, and lessons, that you are connected to the most powerful source of light, love, and lessons, that you are connected to everything and everyone without interference or corrosion of fear, anxiety, frustration, guilt, resentment, all those different things. You learn to love you and live with that culture of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and be inspired to pursue your potential. Vote for what you want, vote for who you want into your life. That's all you got to do, right? All right, everyone. Remember, most importantly, Friday's trainings on worthiness. Reach out to me if you missed any of them. Number one downloaded podcast, The Playbook, featured on Spotify, featured on Entrepreneur. Check it out. So my top downloaded is the trainings. If you missed any of them, and then if you want the guides, exercises, or my book for free, my books, go ahead, david@dmeltzer.com. I see Jeff Fenster, another one of my great mentees, killing it at Everbowl. I just started, believe it or not, using the later bowls, which are like a bag that you put into a blender, and it makes it just like the store. Incredible, Jeffrey. I don't know how you make that stuff taste so good. Anyway, david@dmeltzer.com. If you have enjoyed my text community with all these extraordinary people, Trevor Moad, I saw you on there again. Love you, brother. Text me 949-298-2905. I am starting a private sales group. So reach out, david@dmeltzer.com, if you want to join my private sales group. And we are going to kill it. Friday trainings on worthiness, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. All the replays are featured on Spotify, The Playbook, on Entrepreneur, The Playbook, every platform, The Playbook. But I especially want to thank Entrepreneur and Spotify for featuring me. Just too kind. I am so blessed. Questions, please join me tomorrow, Friday, whenever. DM me. You know how to do it. But most importantly, everyone, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you tomorrow.